levels of radon gas in your home. Take the test. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer. It's odorless, colorless, and radioactive. Testing is quick and inexpensive. So take the test. It could save your life. Sponsored by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection.
Are we good?
Does your life seem meaningless? Do you feel a void in your spirit, an emptiness in your soul?
I think now
Does
we got it
appear
with
that there's no hope? Are there issues
this,
and problems in your life that
regardless
you
of
want to break
video,
away from
and I've got
and feel like
that
you
off, so we
Do you
shouldn't have any
wonder,
bleed
how
through.
can I be free from these issues that
Oh,
have
yeah.
destroyed my life? Well, my
Sweet.
friend, I have the answer.
And-
Bible Way
and
Hymnal
even the girl's
Memorial
number in
Church of
case
God
she
in
doesn't
Christ
call in.
presents Chain Breakers. This and every Sunday at 9 a.m. here on
Here we go.
WHYL.
From the L.B. Smith Ford Lincoln Studios, Oldies 102.9 is WHYL Carlisle.
Welcome to the Real Estate Radio Guys, your weekly source for all things real estate. We're your hosts, real estate broker John Rainville and your mortgage expert Kingsley Harmer, discuss everything from mortgage rates to home staging for foreclosures and everything in between that affect the daily real estate market. Real people, real questions, real answers. Today's show is brought to you by www.pagoloan.com, your source for new mortgage loans. NMLS number 1018. EnviroQuest, trusted for home inspections and radon mitigation in Central PA for over 25 years. And BrokersRealty.com, the easiest way to search for real estate in your hometown. Now, on to the show.
Good morning. It's a fantastic day in PA today. A little bit rainy. Hi, good morning. I'm John Rainville, broker of BrokersRealty.com, Pennsylvania, New York, and Maryland real estate broker, known as the most listened to real estate broker. And my co-host this morning is
Kingsley Harmer. Been in the mortgage business 20 years, licensed currently Pennsylvania, branching out to Maryland and Florida very shortly. Everything from brokered loans to in-house specialty loans to commercial loans, and soon coming business finance loans. So for those of you that are looking for some inventory loans, even some startup loans are coming up. Looking forward to being able to offer that. And
that's
that actually,
interesting. That's probably going to be a show.
It could be a show.
Could be a show.
It definitely could be a show.
Well, today we're going to be talking about insulation, how important it is in homes, buildings, and where the new insulation standards are headed, because there's a big change on that. So we're going to be talking with Heather from All In Insulation today. They also do spouting. Maybe we'll get a little bit of that in, see how much time.
Sounds like a hot topic.
Yeah, or a cool topic, because insulation works both ways. We're also going to be talking with our favorite home inspector, John Stas, later in the show. We'll be talking with John today about roof inspections. And then we're also, Kingsley and I are going to be talking about 6 things that can blow up a real estate, purchase or sale, and how, what you can do to prepare for them. So that's going to be towards the end of the show. So hopefully you hang in here with us. So good morning, Kingsley. What's going on in the mortgage world right now? Just a quick.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because I was sitting there looking and pricing up a loan the other day, and the credit scores weren't the greatest, but I just kind of noticed a little bit of a hike in your normal conventional products, and so yeah, I mean it's slowly but surely and very slyly, kind of creeping up. The rates are creeping up on everybody, which of course that's what's been expected and foretold for I don't know how long. We were just kind of getting used to it and lazy for the sole fact that every week we would come in and lo and behold, nothing happened. There's some people in the industry stating that there's going to, just because of some of the factors that are coming in, that we may actually see a slight dip in the coming week.
Well, you mean rates go down? So,
a touch.
Yeah. I mean, they're still good.
Oh yeah, I mean, I like I said, I think about back 10 years ago when we bought our house that we're currently in, that the rates are actually just above what we bought them at 10 years ago.
Wow.
So how can you go wrong?
No,
really, you can't.
It's just such a phenomenal time to buy, real estate.
We've just been spoiled over the last 8 years with such record low rates that we look at them now like, oh well, I can't afford a house now. Well, at the end of the day, when the rates go up, your affordability goes down. Everybody knows that. So if you're the type of person that's afraid to jump, don't go bungee jumping, don't go skydiving. You just got to jump feet first when you're ready to buy a home.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to check in with you, about getting pre-approved, best number to reach you at.
Give me a call directly at 717-200-4800, and we'll just go over see if it's even worth either purchasing or even refinancing. You may have bought with a rate of 7% because of something with your credit. Maybe we can look to see if we can't correct that, get your credit score up and your rate down all at the same time, and save you some money.
So, folks, if you have any questions today on our topic, which is we're going to be talking about insulations, when you should correct it, what's the new standards on that. If you have any questions on that, any questions on roofs, any questions on buying or selling property, or questions on mortgages, feel free to call into us. Our local number here is 717-249-1787, 717-249-1787. And we'll be happy to take your questions, or of course you can, private messages or messages on our Facebook page. We're up and live and watching things there. So,
what's the real estate market looking like? I've heard some people kind of thinking that the market's extremely slowing down. Is that the case here in Central PA? Are we still having an issue with inventory, or?
We're still seeing low inventory. We're starting to see a lot of the luxury home market, move fairly strong, and people have confidence now in the luxury homes to be putting them on the market. I know a couple of my guys are working on. Well, actually, they should have it listed hopefully by the weekend. Probably one of the probably the most expensive home in Central PA. It'll probably be about $3.5 million. Gorgeous home. I was there last weekend. Just absolutely.
Better be for $3.5 million in Central
Dude,
Pennsylvania.
it's got the pool setup that you're looking for.
It's got the waterfalls, volcano, fire, breathing dragons.
We can definitely add the volcano in. It's already got 2 fire pits built into the volcano mountain behind it.
All right, now hold on. What about the wall that extends out beyond the pool for the wintertime? Kind of like the rolling wall, how you ran it across the gym to split the gym into 2? Except this is like made of glass, so that when it rolls out from the house, it encompasses the pool inside, so that in the wintertime we can still have barbecues and picnics.
Well,
no. All right. But it does have the fire-breathing dragons.
Oh, it's got a great pool with like a beach where you can like put chairs in. Like sort of like when you're at the shore, how you put your chair in sort of like in the water, and then you can still have an umbrella there. Pretty cool. It's the first one I've seen with like a beach.
Really?
Yeah.
Like an actual beach.
Right.
How about a swim-up bar?
No, but it does have a place where you can add it in. It's got a patio pavilion, and real easy add in.
Now you say $3.5 million. Now you're talking to a guy that came from the Los Angeles market, so that was pretty common thing to just buy almost any house in the Hollywood Hills for $3.5 million, and it was like, we'll call it a 1,500 square foot house. That's what you would get for $3.5 million out there.
Now this is like over 8,000, almost 9,000 square feet, not including the finished lower level. 6-car garage.
8,000 square feet, not including the basement.
Yeah, no, almost 9,000 square feet, not including the basement. 6-car garage. You can expand out over the garage in the. You'd have like nanny quarters or something above the garage if you wanted.
You've got 8,000 square feet. What do you need nanny quarters for? Why would you need to add anything to this house? How many bedrooms does it have?
Well, it's got, I don't know, 3 or 4. It's a big house, dude. It takes an hour to walk through it.
Now does this, in comparison to our, what is it, that acre farm with the resort area with all of the rooms and stuff and the house?
This house is all stone. It was just built about 2 years ago, approximately. So, like, I'm gonna say probably about 1-foot stone walls. That's how it was built. I mean, I'm talking the entire house. So, I mean, it's just amazing. Amazing. Well, but for $3.5 million here in Central
Around
Pennsylvania,
here, you better be.
10 acres, obviously a gorgeous view. It's just tremendous.
Okay, so we're having some issues this morning getting a hold of our guest from the installation place. So why don't we skip ahead and talk about 6 things that can cause a deal to go sideways.
All right, that sounds good to me. Well, one of the first examples of a reason a deal.
Oh, and while we're on this topic, if there's any realtors that are actually up this early in the morning that are listening to us and have an actual nightmare of a deal that fell through when we come up with these topics, feel free to call in. What's our number?
717-249-1787. So we're not just talking about what the problems are, but what some of the strategies are. So for a buyer or a seller, one of the things that can be a blow up is the buyer's financing, right?
Absolutely.
So what are some strategies that that buyer seller can use? Obviously, for the buyer, I would say they should be pre-approved, not just pre-qualified.
And that's actually a big thing now. There's several companies that surprise me to this day that still do not actually do an official pre-approval. In other words, I'm a licensed loan officer, and I've been in this industry for about 20 years or so. So, when I look at somebody's documents, I can tell, okay, look, their income is XYZ, or they've only been a trucker for 3 months. We may have an issue getting an official approval. And even that, with 20 years of knowledge and seeing all types of different issues with loans and denials, is not a pre-approval. It's still technically a pre-qualification. So when you have somebody called up and pre-approved, you want to make sure that an underwriter is reviewing the file. In other words, Kingsley, I need you to pre-qualify this guy. I'm looking to put an offer in on a house, here in Carlisle, whatever the sales price may be. So when I call that individual, I'm actually requesting income documents. I'm requesting, bank statements or assets to verify that they have the money to put down. And of course, we're checking credit, etc. So once I have all those documents, not only am I looking at it to kind of, weed out the people that are certainly not going to qualify, but then an underwriter actually reviews those documents, checks the income, makes sure that the DTI, debt to income ratio, and everything else is in line, right? And actually gives it a stamp of approval, minus the property, of course. So that's the first thing you want to make sure that's happening. Now, there are issues that can pop up along any loan, and
249-1787.
Of course, 717-249-1787 is the number to call in here at the studio, by the way.
If you have any questions, yep.
All
right, so let's move on. So the next thing that could hold a deal up or blow a deal.
Well, no, there's actually more involved with the financing, because
all right, I'm sorry.
When you get into the financing aspect of it, keep in mind that the other thing you, as a realtor or a buyer, want to be aware of is the type of financing you're getting and other issues that could blow up your deal throughout the process. So, for example, let's say, you're a realtor and you listed a property and you aren't familiar with FHA guidelines, and you have a house that has chipping paint all over the windows, all over the door, all over the garage, and you as a listing agent aren't aware that, somebody gets approved, an appraisal goes out, and all of a sudden the appraiser's like, I'm sorry, this doesn't pass FHA guidelines. Well, the property itself has to actually pass for the financing as well. So, so there's another issue you have to take into account when you're getting financing, is the property itself.
Heather, can you call me back at this number I'm going to give you?
In any event.
So
on to number 2.
Number 2 are inspection repair requests. So if you're a buyer,
1787.
you have to realize, look, if you're buying a used home or even a new home, not everything's always perfect. So there may be some things that you have to expect that you're going to fix, I'm going to say, if you're the buyer, after settlement. And if you're the seller, there's some things that you're going to have to fix maybe for the seller in order to buy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with that being said, an inspection comes in. And let's just say, for example, there's some peeling paint on the windowsills, right?
Right.
Well, every buyer is going to want brand new windows all throughout the house, right? Is that likely going to happen?
No. So a lot of times buyers are unrealistic. They think things are going to cost a lot more than what they do. And I find with a lot of the buyers right now that they're not realistic, that a seller is not going to make everything completely perfect before they buy it. They're going to take care of usually health issues, safety issues, things like that, and that can be called on not because of the inspector. Sometimes the loan actually requires them to have some.
The appraiser will call some of that stuff out. It's usually called subject to. So, for example, if it's missing a railing on a deck, as a seller, you're most likely going to have to do that, right? Yeah.
All right. So we've got through 2 of our 6, but Heather's on the line now, so we're gonna be talking with Heather from All In Insulation.
We'll pick this back up.
Yeah, and then we'll pick this back up probably not until after Mr. Stas today.
Sounds good to me.
Good morning, Heather. How are you doing? Yeah, no worries. Some of it could have been on our end. We'll blame our producer, Big Dog. He just got on Facebook. He just finally got into Facebook. So I'm gonna have to send you things so you can friend him. He's only got like 15 friends.
See, look at that now. You're going to have 500 requests by the time we get off our show.
So good morning. So tell us a little bit about All In Insulation and Spouting. Is that really the correct name? So what does insulation really do? I mean, I know like some of the older homes, obviously people probably have out there may not have any insulation in them, but what's really the function here? So, Heather, I built my home, 15 years ago. Now I've got a home I've used propane to heat, but I had it built back then to the Comfort Home standards. So I tried to build it extra tight and then use the propane. So I have R38. What with the new insulation standards, would it pay me to have you guys come out and give me more insulation?
What is this R thing? So does that have to do anything with how thick the insulation is? So,
Okay.
I mean, let me take our average house that was built maybe 20 years ago, and it has, 2x6 walls, right? So you've only got 6 inches to play with. So what you're telling me is that my R value right off the bat is only going to be like 11 or 13 or whatever the case may be because of the thickness of my walls. So what if I just So I'm pretty much capped at what my R value can be if I'm building my walls with 2x6s and I've got a 6-inch wall. So what if I bought a house though and I take R38 insulation and I squeeze it into the walls? Do I get better insulation? Okay, so when I bring you out, you're going to look at my house and say, look, I know you want R38 in your walls, but based on your house, this is kind of the maximum that you can really do to effectively get the most out of any changes or re-insulation.
So, Heather, I mean, just give our listeners, let's just say that I have R30 right now, and I want to go to the R49. Maybe I have a 2,000 square foot colonial, so I've got about 1,000 square feet up in my attic. About just a rough idea to go from R30 to the new R49. Are we talking thousands of dollars? So if everything's, I'm just trying to get a ballpark idea. So if everything's okay, we don't have extra problems, we don't need to add in any extra ventilation, whatever. But to go from like an R30 to, the R49, I mean, are we talking $2,000? I mean, I'm just okay.
Really? Hmm. All right, so let's go back to a house that I've already, own. I don't have the luxury of building, a brand new one, right? So I want to try and make this house as efficient as possible. You're saying that, there might not be insulation in the walls, or there might be inadequate insulation. The last thing I want to do is have, a contractor have to come in and rip out all my drywall to insulate my house. Is that really the only way to do it?
So Heather, a lot of people think, I mean, basically what we talked about right here, right now, has been like the attic insulation. But what if you have an uninsulated, let's say, block crawl space? Is that something that you should get the walls insulated on? I mean, I've been in some new homes and they have like I'm going to say like a mylar covered blanket, like a silvery looking blanket on the walls. Is that something you guys do too? So what if you have like if they're like an exposed? Some homes I'm in, they have like an exposed crawl space. I'm going to say where that block is actually the outside wall. So that would probably be a big benefit there if it went from just no insulation to now having like that You said what, R11 in there?
So, have you guys ever used the foam So does it actually insulate better than fiberglass? So is it as effective as the fiberglass or equal? It is. Okay.
So you guys do residential and commercial buildings, I assume. So if someone's on a budget, Heather, where would they start? And then work your way down?
Now, let's say a home with a basement that is, completely underground. Does it pay to insulate between the basement and the first floor? Well, I mean, I want to take heat for example, right? And I'm always under the assumption that heat rises, right? So if I've got, let's say, a heat pump or a furnace that I'm heating the basement, and I'm thinking to myself, well, why would I want to insulate between the basement and the first floor? It's going to rise and automatically heat up. Hmm. Ah, the old bowel movement nullification process. I love it. Oh, and just for the record, my wife, we've been looking at wanting to build here, soon. It has to be a toilet in its own compartment within the bathroom.
And it's got to be
And
insulated.
then most likely it's got to be insulated.
Insulated and ventilated.
Yes.
So Heather, I'm looking at one of your ads that we're going to put up on our Facebook page here later today. So you can save up to 35%. What's this thing about the 14 inches? Because the way a guy measures 14 inches and a woman measures 14 inches is totally different. But what is this 14-inch thing?
I can't say that I haven't been told that one before. Sorry.
So, what do you think the new measurement is that we're going to need to have to hit that R49?
Wow, that's a lot of insulation. And real quick question. What is the R value of brick, concrete, stone, etc.? So if I'm looking at an overall R value of my house and I have a brick blank house, I mean, does it make a difference that it's an all brick outside or stone outside?
Good morning. Is that you, John? Alrighty, I'll put you on hold.
So Heather, is All In Insulation, is that a family business?
Wow. So here, I'm going to have a question for you. That you can take back to your whole family at this point, since you have a Mason in the family and a lot of experience. Have you seen those new homes now where they build the outside of the wall and they literally pour concrete in and it becomes the roof, the foundation, the walls, everything is cement, right? So ask to see if it would be worth me building an all cement house insulation wise as opposed to putting in.
I actually knew the R value on that.
Really?
Yeah, it's R18.
Really?
Yeah, and the reason I know is because I have the lodge, for sale down in Biglerville, which is the poured concrete. The walls look like log, but yeah, it's an R18 value is what
really?
It goes to. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh well, I didn't say anything about cost.
It costs a fortune.
Yeah, let's we don't want to be rational about this.
So Heather, what's the best advice you'd give to a person that's got any questions about insulation? Do they have enough? Is it going to cost them for you guys to come out and take a look? How do we do this? Absolutely. Well, you're talking. We're not only the real estate radio guys. We're also known as the frugal guys because Kingsley and I. Some people call us cheap, but we like to do things that are going to save us money down the road. We'd rather spend the money. So Heather, actually, I've got a couple questions. So eventually I am going to have you out because we're getting ready to redo our basement, and I do need my crawl spaces insulated. I do also want to get you out to give me an estimate, to get us up to the new code, up to the R49, because it sounds to me like I'm going to recover the money fairly quickly. I got another question though off the insulation on the spouting. What is? Should they only call you if they need a complete spouting job, or do you come out and take care of maybe they just need a new front gutter or something like that, or does it have to be like where you're doing the whole house? Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of our, I'm out showing homes all the time, and I know with a lot of the storms we've had, I've seen people where they've lost like the downspouts where they've gotten blown off. And I was just telling him about 2 weeks ago, and I asked the guy where his, the downspout was in the rear of the thing, and he said, well, it's on the house. I said, no, there's nothing there. But that's something they could actually call you, and I guess you guys would come out and install like a new downspout, So is that something the same guys do? So if I have you out for an insulation quote, at the same time, can you guys look at gutters and downspouts? So like one-stop shopping for those two things.
All right, and I have one more quick question. One last question. When you come out to do the estimate, do you, when you're trying to figure out whether a home's insulated properly or not, do you look at like any sort of infrared scans to see where the home's losing heat? Which is nice to know, getting that one-on-one, support and or, if I'm looking, I already obviously said know where my house is having issues. So seeing is believing more times than not. So what is the best number to call your company? Because I know winter's coming up. And I already in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, my heating costs have been through the roof, and if I'm going to save, I don't know how much.
Mine are low, but I want them lower, dude.
Well, I actually, just put a post up, last week. I'm like, my electric bills are through the roof. And that was after putting, new siding on, new windows, a heat pump. And I'm like, there's gotta be something to give here. Nice. Gotcha. Exactly.
Yep, and we'll have you up on our Facebook page. Heather, thanks so much. You have a great weekend. We really appreciate it. And I think maybe one time we'll have to talk about spouting.
Thanks, Heather. Now, keep in mind, Heather did just say the only time she doesn't answer her phone is if she's with another customer, right? So if it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and you had a draft come through, I'm going to call Heather and get her out here for a free estimate. But it is nice having a family-owned business to give you the attention that you're looking for, as opposed to some salesperson trying to
sell you.
Yeah.
So good morning, John. How are you doing this morning? So we were talking with Heather from All In Insulation, and I know your topic today. You want to talk to the people a little bit about roof inspections. So what can you tell us about roofs? So you mean like where your bathroom vents come out or whatever? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
So what's an average lifespan of a typical shingle roof?
Not Tamco seconds like Kingsley likes.
Frugal. So it sounds to me like it's definitely worth to get an inspector out, like yourself, to take a look at it to say, hey, look, this roof's shot, or you might have about 3 years left just to kind of give them a good idea, especially if they're buying, a house, to say you're going to be, putting some money out here on a roof sooner than you thought because of this. And you were going into a lot of different technical aspects of it. I think you called it degranulation. And obviously the what do you call it when the roof sticks to each other?
Are you at Hollywood? Is that? Did you just hit something on the slot machine? Yeah, you. I mean, we were hearing like bells going off in the background. I thought maybe you just got the big winner there at Hollywood.
Huh. Right. Trains with horns. Right. Whistles.
Wheel of Fortune.
So obviously, I mean, a roof is probably one of the most important aspects of a house. From insulation right up to the roof itself. If somebody's buying a home, or they're questioning whether or not their roof is insulating their house properly from the inside and or the outside, what's the best number to call you on to come out and check it out? And of course, as always, you're at ebqharrisburg.com and on Facebook as EBQ Harrisburg, right? All right.
Awesome, John. Have a great weekend, buddy. Thank you. All right, so we're going to get back to, the 6 things that can blow a deal, whether you're buying or selling. We talked about financing issues. We talked about home inspection repair issues. The next one that we hear a lot of complaints about here locally right now is our appraisal issues. Yeah, the dreaded appraisal issue. So appraisal issues that I see come up from the realtor side is, well, we didn't get value. We sold it for $200,000 and only appraised for $193,408. Is one issue. And then the second issue is what we talked about a minute ago about
subject to repairs.
Yeah. What should, from a loan perspective, is there anything that the buyer or seller can do to better prepare for those things?
Well, most of the time it's going to be, I would have to say, the realtor's responsibility to educate either A, the seller, and or B, the buyer when they're looking at a particular home. So let's just say, for example, we're in the area of Camp Hill, so we've got a home that was built maybe in the 50s, okay? So there's obviously a lot more things that an appraiser may look at on a home that was built in the 50s that could come up, for example, on an FHA or VA loan.
For the repairs.
For repairs.
But nothing we could do really for value. The value's the value.
The value, well, at the end of the day, they say the house is worth what somebody's willing to pay, right? Of course, an appraiser has to go out and justify that. However, with that being said, if you have an appraisal come in, I'll sit there as a loan officer and I'll fight the value if I can actually see that there are other comps. You can go back to an appraiser and talk about that.
Okay, so that's number 3 on our list. The next thing is closing on time. So a lot of people from the realtor side don't realize that there are dates that are extremely important, like the mortgage contingency date, having your inspections done on time, having your inspections, reports back and forth between the buyer and seller in time, getting your estimates on time. And so I'm sort of lumping that together with the next one, which is disclosure contingencies, where you have folks from the realtor side, you've got to hit those dates. You signed a contract, and those dates are very important, or it can impact being able to close on time. And then right now, somebody may have bought your house, and then you may have bought somebody else's house, you may have bought somebody else's house,
domino effect.
So when somebody in that chain of purchases makes a hiccup, it can really displace a lot of families, and buyers and sellers out there.
And most of the time, just from experience, you're going to kind of know when you meet as, let's say, a realtor. When you meet with a potential buyer, you're going to know whether or not that person's kind of lethargic as far as getting stuff done. But on a contract, you have to actually make an application by a certain date, which means all your documents are in and all your disclosures are signed for a loan, and it's actually in processing. So that stuff needs to be done usually within 48 to 72 hours max, because every day that goes by, you're just delaying the inevitable, which is what's supposed to be your contingency date
and that could
closing.
Could impact you to lose the deposit you put down.
Exactly.
Because you didn't meet the terms of the contract.
Correct.
And we're starting to see people get held to the fire. So the next thing is, so we sort of there talked about closing time, disclosure contingencies, homeowner association and condo doc reviews. Here in Pennsylvania, you have a 3-day review. So it's very common for me up in the Pocono offices. Our realtors up there, as soon as they sell a property, they want the condo docs or the homeowner association docs so they can give it to the buyer so that that 3-day right of rescission is activated. Because if you wait as the seller to get them to the buyer till right before closing, they have that 3 days, and if they all of a sudden want to easy out on the contract, they can do it.
And that seems to come up more often than not with HOAs, is that they take forever to get those homeowners association docs to the buyer, because in their mind it's like, not that important.
The sixth caveat on not having your purchase or your sale blow up is when the buyer does the dreaded thing,
shows up to closing in an Escalade with $1,000 a month payment,
or a lot of them will go out and buy furniture.
Yes.
And they say, well, yeah, but if the payments are deferred, I don't have to make any payments until 2020. Why is this impacting me?
What most people don't understand about that is it's not even necessarily the purchase. When you go up until, let's say, you're 5 days before closing, you have what's called a closing disclosure issued, right? Which means your title company and the bank are getting ready to escrow and wire funds for your purchase. And right before that happens, every mortgage company is going to do what's called a refresh of your credit. And if at any time between the time you applied and then you even had your credit ran for a 10% discount at Boscov's, okay? Or, if you apply now, I'll take $10 off your order. Now all of a sudden you have to get a letter of explanation as far as what it was for, make sure you didn't open up any credit, and now you just probably killed a couple of days because it's got to go back into processing and underwriting.
So, folks, reach out to Kingsley at what number, Kingsley?
717-200-4800.
Or myself, 717-554-7430. If you have any questions on, a real estate transaction, getting pre-approved, even if you're in a deal right now and things are starting to get hinky and fall apart, reach out to us. We can at least give you some of our, decades of experience as advice. That's why we're the most listened to guys talking about real estate and mortgages, here in the area.
That's true. And like I said, if you've got any questions or you need help, getting through a transaction, even if you're a realtor and just want some advice, give us a call. I'm sure we'll be able to walk you through that. I mean, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So I'm Kingsley Harmer, the Radio Mortgage Man.
The Radio Mortgage Man. All right. And I'm John Rainville, most listened to real estate broker in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New York.
Until next week.
Real people.
Real insulation.
Real questions.
See you guys.
Folks. Talk to you.
To this episode of the Real Estate Radio Guys with John Rainville and Kingsley Harmer. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit PAGoLoan.com, BrokersRealty.com, and Facebook.com/Real Estate Radio Guy. If you enjoyed the episode, please rate and review, and we'll catch you next time on the Real Estate Radio Guys.
That's way
From the Your Bath and Kitchen Studios, making ours yours.